So I'll start this off with a line of questioning. Has anyone here fired a flintlock musket themselves before? Oh, that wasn't a hand, okay. Well, usually one in every crowd, I always ask. Well, even if you haven't fired one of these before, you have definitely seen them around, either in movies or video games or cartoons or some form of media. They are usually described as primitive and unreliable weapons. Now, I'm here to prove that, but also disprove it at the same time. But to do that, we have to start at the bottom, which is to say how this gun should function. So when I pull the trigger, this piece of sharpened flint should flip forward and hit this piece of steel. That should make sparks. Those sparks should fall on a trail of gunpowder located here at the side of the weapon. That trail of gunpowder should burn into the barrel, where it should light off the powder in the barrel, which should explode, which should generate enough explosive force to propel a musket out the end of the gun this way. Do you catch my drift?
Yep.
Perfect. So what word did I say in there a lot?
Should.
Excellent observation. So by that observation, you know that this gun should, but does not always work. So what happens to gunpowder when it gets wet?
It does not burn.
It does not burn, which means your gun is not going off, and if it is raining, snowing, misty, if you've just drank water and breathed on it wrong, in other words, any form of extreme moisture is going to neutralize your gunpowder. So today, we aren't dealing with snow, rain, or mist, so I'd give it about an 85% chance of success today. Now, with that being said, this right here is a musket. It is not a rifle. Does anybody know the difference?
A rifle, it spins the ball, and a musket, the ball just goes up.
Pretty
It's
much.
round too.
Well, both are round, yes. Both projectiles for rifles and muskets are round. But that first part is pretty much the only difference that we're dealing with in 1775. Is that to say a rifle has spiraled grooves on the inside of its barrel meant to catch onto a tightly fit musket ball and make it spin as it exits. Now with that spin, the ball will fly straighter for farther, making the rifle's accurate and lethal range 300 yards away. Muskets, on the other hand, are smooth pipes of metal, nothing special about them. And they are going to be firing loosely fit projectiles that do not spin, but instead bounce out the end of the barrel, leading to a lethal range of 300 yards, but an accurate range of 100 yards. So with this in consideration, is this a sniper's weapon? Are you going to be using it as a sniper's weapon? I was expecting a lot more no's, but let me lay this out in explicit and undeniable detail. If a weapon is not accurate to a long distance away, you are not going to be using it as a sniper's weapon. Even the British realized this because, yes, as a matter of fact, the British in 1775 do have rifles and do make use of them, even in the North American campaign. But why is it, do you think, that the regular British soldiers like me are given muskets instead of rifles?
Cost?
Cost! These muskets are 3 times cheaper than the rifles. So you want 3 times the size in your regiment? Go with the cheaper option. But there's another reason we prefer these as well. Any guesses? Ladies and gentlemen, it takes 60 seconds to reload and fire a rifle in 1775. But it takes 15 seconds to load and fire a musket. It is 3 times cheaper and 4 times faster, meaning if you provide your regiment with muskets, you will be getting 12 shots per minute for the same cost as you would otherwise get 1 rifle shot per minute. I think you can start to see our advantage here, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so anybody here been in the military, the modern active military? Drawing on my own experience, I guess. So if you look at the modern day military, ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice something quite similar to the points I have made. Not every boots on the ground soldier is equipped with a high-powered sniper rifle. Most of your average everyday grunts, as they put it, are given automatic weapons. Weapons that are designed to be cheap and easily cleanable, usable, and fieldable by everybody. They are designed to spew as much lead downrange in a short to mid-range combat scenario. The reason I mention this is because I also just described the musket's role on the battlefield. Short to mid-range combat scenario, simply designed to be cheap, soldier-proof, and put as much lead downrange as humanly possible. Now, I'm about to show you what this looks like on a one-man scale. So just imagine that there are about 80 more of me, shoulder to shoulder with me, doing the exact same thing. And I'll tell you the reason for that afterwards. So we all start off with a cartridge, a pre-measured amount of gunpowder and a lead ball inside a paper shell. You tear that open with your teeth. You pour a small amount of the powder into the side of the weapon, just enough to take a spark. The rest of the powder and the musket ball and the paper goes straight down the barrel of the gun. You then ram the charge down with this ramrod and return it to its original place. This does not make the shot any more accurate, but what it does do is keep that loosely fit musket ball stuck at the bottom of the barrel so it doesn't roll out the end of the weapon when you point downhill. Now, I'm fairly certain I don't need to say this for all of you, but since discharging a weapon indoors is kind of both socially faux pas and safety faux pas, I will invite you to join me outside where we will fire the weapon.
Ready, everyone? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you saw all of that smoke. You heard that boom. Many of you are going to be smelling this smoke. That was one shot from one gun. Now, in order to make sure that our rather inaccurate but really fast and really cheap muskets can actually hit the target that we are shooting at, our tactic on the battlefield is to form up shoulder to shoulder with our mates across the entire width of the battlefield and discharge our weapons into the foe at the same time every 15 seconds. So imagine that happening, multiply that times hundreds if not thousands. After a while, you start to go a little deaf, you can start to go a little nose blind, and the battlefield is covered in a layer of smoke. And amidst that layer of smoke, somebody dressed in your uniform, madam, with your dark faded top and your faded blue jeans, nothing against your fashion sense, mind you, but you will disappear on this battlefield. So I ask everybody, is it a good idea to disappear on this battlefield? Yes, you say. Why? You don't want to get shot. By who? I'd like to address that, ladies. Because, think about this. If you camouflage from the sight of your enemy, yeah, they can't aim it at you specifically. But when you all discharge your weapons at the same time across the entire width of the battlefield and give them a brilliant fireworks display that gives a whole area of land a nice little illumination, is there any doubt in their enemy's mind as to where they should be pointing their entire gun line? So no matter how camouflaged you are, you will give away your position the second you pull the trigger. But you know who can't see that muzzle flash of yours? What was that? Yeah, your friends who are 100 yards behind you also formed up in those wide lines of guys, firing a shot down range once every 15 seconds. So we lead to friendly fire. The only thing camouflage is going to get you on the 18th century battlefield is shot in the front and the back, rather than this, which may get you shot in the front, but that was going to happen anyway, so who's concerned about that? So what we are trying to do with this kind of uniform, ladies and gentlemen, is stand out. Absolutely, but it doesn't stop there. I can see you from a mile away in that light blue, but there's nothing on that uniform that specifies. Nothing that tells me where you're from, what you like to do, what equipment you are trained with, who's in charge of you, how fast you are capable of moving, and to where and whether or not I should shoot you because of it. So what do you do with a person like that in a uniform you can see but not recognize?
Shoot him anyway.
Shoot them anyway, ask questions later. So what you want to do is have something specific on your uniform. So me, for example, it's not just the red coat, right? I've got this lace pattern on me that is specific to the 8th Regiment of Foot. Now you have a very definitive chain of command for who's in charge of me. You know that since the 8th Regiment of Foot is a foot regiment, I'm supposed to be moving on my feet, not on horseback. You know that I'm trained in musketry and straight up linear warfare without too much guerrilla warfare involved. By this epaulet on my shoulder, you can tell that I'm a corporal, which means I should be standing to the far right of a battle line, giving orders to everyone on my left, but taking orders from the high brass. All of that, ladies and gentlemen, just from giving me a quick once-over. That is the purpose of these uniforms, not just safety, but also for command and control as well. And at this point, I've told you a little bit about what we use and how, and what we wear and why. And to sum it up, I will say this. This weapon right here, the gun, dictates everything about a soldier's life in 1775. It determines how we fight, how we dress while we fight, how we defend ourselves while we're fighting. It's all based around this right here. The gun makes us, not the other way around. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any further questions, queries, concerns, insults, or assertions of superior sourcing, I will be happy to address them right now. Yes.
What happens if you shoot and your ball doesn't fire, and you're out there in the middle of the field? Is your gun done, or how
It's
do
not
you?
done per se. And here's the thing, and this actually plays very well into a very real experience I had. So oftentimes when you're in a line firing next to all these people, you don't know if your gun is the one that misfired. See, there are many different ways to misfire. It could just be as simple as a flint clicks on a piece of steel and doesn't make a spark. At that point, you know something's wrong because you can clearly see the powder still there. But sometimes you get what's called a flash in the pan, which means this powder goes off, this stuff does not. So now if you're in the middle of a battlefield and you don't know if anything came out the edge of your gun, but this is certainly gone, you're merely going to reload, and that will end up creating a double charge. Now, double charges, while terrifying, are not lethal to the gun. They backfire. In fact, these guns are tested by triple loading. But what that means is that until you get that to flash in the pan, you'll keep stacking ammunition until at last the gun is unsafe to fire. Now, on the battlefield, you won't know this is happening because the noise, the smoke, the distraction of simply trying to keep on going. So most of the times these things just discharge, double charge without too much incident, and no one's the wiser. Other times backfires happen. Backfires do happen, but they are exceedingly rare, and they are hardly ever lethal. They are cosmetically catastrophic, as in you will most likely lose your eyebrows, your nose, your lips, your ears, and whatever makes you in the first place, but you will survive. That's what happens. And if that happens, I mean, you're going to be in pain, so you'll have to withdraw from the battlefield, but you won't be dead. Get no more out of me, you tongue-tied traversers of history. So, at this point, you are free to wander around. If you do have any questions, I too will be wandering around. All you need to do is stop me and ask.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.